John Spreckels knew that an exposition would be fantastic for his business. He also may have derived satisfaction from competing with San Francisco, the city he had left and where his siblings resided. One of John's interests was Mission Cliffs Gardens, located on a south crest overlooking Mission Valley. The gardens had been established as a companion feature of the San Diego Electric Railway, owned by the Spreckels interests. Despite the importance of this business to John, he offered to donate the organ and its pavilion to the Panama, California exposition when he could as easily have kept these features as an attraction at his recreational park. The price was $19,500, approximately $90,000 in 2024 prices. Shortly after the contract was drafted, the Spreckels companies decided to put the organ in Balboa Park rather than Mission Cliff Gardens. John's reason to make his gift to San Diego, rather than to keep the organ as an asset of his business enterprises, was not as clear as the San Diego Union, the newspaper John owned, made them out to be. As a co-owner of the San Diego Electric Railway, John and his fellow businessmen and supporters, Joseph W. Sefton, Jr. and D.C., Charlie Collier, wanted to put a connection through the center of Balboa Park in the short term to allow access to the exposition. John is alleged to have held the offer of the organ pavilion and the fulfillment of his pledges to the exposition fund on hold until he was assured his railway would be built. The organ pavilion was for all the people, and a guarantee pledge that there would never be a charge for entertainment at the pavilion. Panama, California exposition officials were eager to get the organ for the exposition. A music pavilion had long been advocated for Balboa City Park. A decision had to be made where to put the gift. A site behind the California State Building, now occupied by the San Diego Zoological Hospital, seemed to be the answer. Exposition officials suggested a more prestigious site at the head of Plaza de Panama. John proposed putting the organ pavilion on the grounds of the old Howard Tract, where the U.S. Naval Hospital was to be located outside the exposition grounds. Officials then decided that Brazil and other South American countries were not going to fulfill their promises to erect buildings for the exposition, and offered Spreckels a location at the south end of the Via de los Estados extension of the Plaza de Panama rather than at the head of the plaza. This was the site chosen. He spent most of his time praising the view of downtown San Diego from the peristyle rather than describing the pavilion's features and functions. Organ Pavilion's location facing north brought the sun directly into faces of spectators, a fact many sunburned onlookers can confirm. Spreckels organ historian Edward Barr, in justifying that the north-facing position for south storms over San Diego would not be able to put rain into the organ, a fact yacht and steamship owner John Spreckels would undoubtedly have known. This is why, even when it rains today, the audience gets wet but the organ stays dry. John D. chose Harrison Albright to design the organ pavilion. The design was finalized before construction began. Albright was a self-taught and successful Los Angeles architect, whom Spreckels noticed when Albright arrived in San Diego to design the U.S. Grant Hotel opposite Horton Plaza Park in downtown San Diego. Albright's work for Spreckels included the San Diego Union Building, the Spreckels Theater Building, and the San Diego Hotel in downtown San Diego, and the Spreckels Mansion, Coronado Bank Building, and Public Library in Coronado. John L. Wright, second son of architect Frank Lloyd Wright and an employee of Albright's architectural firm, designed the Golden West Hotel, a hotel for working people in downtown San Diego, another link in the long chain of Spreckels enterprises. The Worcester Construction Company of San Diego, the same company that built the California State Building in Balboa Park, built the Organ Pavilion. The Tracy Brick and Art Stone Company of Chula Vista made and set art stone ornament on the central building and on the colonnade. Page 5 of 21 architectural publications that accompanied the Panama, California exposition did not mention the Organ Pavilion. They printed photographs but omitted text. While an experimenter in reinforced concrete, Albright was conservative in his choice of decoration. Angel heads blowing 2 trumpets on the terminal arches of each colonnade belong to the same festive family as winged angels blowing trumpets at the top of engaged columns on the 4 corners of the main building. These angel heads and heads of Pan playing pipes on side arches at the end of the colonnades stressed the musical function of the Organ Pavilion. A little old lady informed Edward Barr in 1997 that she had worked with Albright on the Organ Pavilion and that the faces on the 4 angels on the main pavilion were modeled from a cast Albright made of his wife's face, "The only angel in my life." It is too late 82 years after the event to confirm the accuracy of this statement. Bound by ethics not to criticize the work of a fellow architect, Winslow, in his February 20th, 1917 letter to Dr. Hewitt, simply stated that the organ pavilion was too ornate. By ornate, he referred to a superfluity of decoration. Eugen Neuhaus, professor of decorative design at the University of California, wrote more about the design of the organ pavilion than did other writers. While built for a day and of temporary materials, there is no hint of cost-cutting. But the pavilion would be just that, a stark 75 feet tall structure like the band shell in Golden Gate Park, a gift to San Francisco in 1899 from Claus Spreckels, were it not for the organ. The organ was recessed behind the great arch and into the pediments above. A 20-foot-plus attic between the organ chamber ceiling and the roof acted as an insulator against rapid temperature changes. Besides acting as a giant sounding board for the organ, the central structure contained rooms for the organist, chorus, and staff, including 5 bathrooms which soon became godsends for the many people who participated in events at the pavilion. When the organ was not used, attendants lowered a 20,000-pound corrugated steel curtain behind the arch to conceal and protect the pipes. Pavilion and colonnade appear at their finest at night, when 1,415-watt lights give the complex a striking glow while putting the workaday ornament in shadow. In 1915, the Spreckels organ had 52 ranks or 3,400 pipes distributed among 5 divisions. Size of pipes ranged from the size of a pencil to 32 feet long. The console had 4 manuals and a pedal keyboard. A 20-horsepower blower powered by electricity, 2 floors below the pipes, pumped compressed air into a wind chest. See Appendix 1. When the organist depressed keys on the console, he opened valves at the bottom of the pipes, causing the wind chest to deflate and bellows to expand. As air from the bellows forced itself over the lips of the pipes, it created sounds. Unknown to spectators, thousands of working pipes were located behind visible gilded pipes. John paid $33,500 for the organ and $66,500 for the pavilion. An unknown but substantial portion of the latter sum was for decoration. Owing to contributions, mainly from the Spreckels Organ Society, composed of private citizens, the organ in 2002 has 73 ranks or 4,518 pipes distributed among its 5 divisions. Because it had been played to death, and improvements had made a newer model necessary, the original console was replaced in 1935 and again in 1981. Range and volume are deeper and richer now than they were in 1915. Part of the reason for the disparity of sound between yesterday and today is that John D. Spreckels did not care for the polyphonic organ music of the Renaissance and Baroque musical periods, and he omitted pipes and stops suitable for this music from his order to the Austin Company. Beginning in 1988, Spreckels Organ Society members attempted to make up the deficiency through modifications of wind pressure and the introduction of pipes and stops capable of reproducing the bright tones and voices of Baroque organs. In Edward Barr's words, the only deficiency today lies in the ability of the organist to exploit the resources of the instrument. As with the Aeolian player organ in his Coronado mansion, John Dee's preference was for an organ that would accompany the human voice. Since the 1930s, many makers of organs have sought to combine the features of romantic, orchestral organs with those of Baroque organs. Their success is a matter of debate among lovers of organ music. Its acoustic powers are phenomenal. On good days, it can be heard several miles outside Balboa Park. The organ's proudest day, and to John Dee his proudest day, was its dedication on New Year's Eve, 1914. Rather than curtailing events in the organ pavilion, the entry of the U.S. into World War I stimulated attendance by civilians and by soldiers, sailors, and Marines stationed in Balboa Park. The custom of beginning each concert with the playing of America and ending with the Star-Spangled Banner began on April 6, 1917, the same day President Woodrow Wilson declared war. As head of a civic music committee, Miss Gertrude Gilbert arranged for community sings and for free concerts by guest artists and local musicians. Civic organizations sponsored shows or presented their own rallies to benefit service personnel or for the war effort were held frequently. Enlisted men reciprocated the city's hospitality by putting on shows for themselves and for civilians. After the war, The San Diego City Council used money from Camp Callan, a U.S. Army Coast Artillery post on Torrey Pines, to renovate the organ pavilion and to convert a former exposition building in the Palisades into a municipal gymnasium. John's death in 1926 was a sad event for the city. Not only a man, but an institution had passed away. San Diegans thank the man who has created an amazing venue for the people of San Diego County. Summer concerts, from bluegrass to rock during the summer, and year-long organ music. Raymond Dalu hopes you enjoyed the video.